What's up, guys? I'm the 50s kid. Check it out. Ismail's back. It's been a while since he's been here. Obviously, I took a little break, but he's back, and he wanted to do like a follow-up video to those other videos we did. We did one on like crank problems you might have. So he wanted to do a video on, what was it?
Well, it's kind of a follow-up on the no crank, no start video where I'm going to show you exactly how to do the steps to, for example, the key in the ignition and the beep, because last time we only talked about it as a theory, you know, on the board, just do the 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to show you actually how it's done to see it with your own eyes that, you know, when it does beep and when it doesn't beep. And then also another trick is to find out if you have a no crank, to find out if it's the ignition or starter that's bad, or if it's the actual relay that's inside the EWS. The starter relay is inside the EWS. It's soldered on the board. It's not replaceable. So if that one's bad, then you got to replace the whole EWS.
Yeah, so he's going to show you some tricks to figure out how to figure that out. So anyway, let's get started, man.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's do the first thing, the beep,
Okay.
with the key in the ignition.
All right.
So right now you can see that with the door open, there's no beeping, of course, because the key's not in the ignition. So what you do for that test is you get in the car, you close the driver door, very important. You put the key in the ignition to the first click where you only have like the oil service mileage and that airbag light on. If you turn it one click too far, you'll hear a beeping even with the door closed, and all lights on the dash will turn on. So you don't want to go that far. You just want to be at that click right here. Now, as soon as I open this door, that's the beeping I'm talking about. If there was no key, or the key is bad, you wouldn't hear that beep. Unfortunately, well, you know what? We can try it. Oh, this is an original key, so unfortunately I can't try it right now. But this is pretty much what it would be like if you open the door, nothing happens, and the key is in the ignition on the first click. So that means either that probably means that the key is bad, like the component inside the key is bad that needs to be fixed or replace the whole key. It means that the key is not being read by the EWS. It's not being recognized by the EWS, or it might be a wrong key for the car. So anyways, so one more time, close the door. Take the key, put it in the ignition, first click. This is all you see on the dash. This tiny dash right here that has the mileage, temperature, and the airbag light, which went away in a couple of seconds. You open the door. There you go. That means your key's good, Jason.
Okay.
Congratulations.
That's good.
All right. So now that we have the key that is good, let's say you have a no crank, the key is good. So you go to start a car and nothing happens. Now here's another test that I'm going to show you guys, which is going to pretty much narrow down the cause of your no crank, which is going to narrow it down to two options: either ignition switch, which is right under here. This side is not the ignition switch. This is the ignition barrel, just a mechanical barrel for the key to turn. The actual electrical ignition switch is right here, right on the opposite of the barrel. Three options right now. It's either the ignition switch, the EWS with the relay inside it, or the actual starter. This test is going to differentiate between the ignition switch and the starter together as a couple, or the EWS as the cause. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to drop this kick panel with a couple of Phillips head screws and a couple of plastic plugs, one on the side and one on the back. You're going to have in handy a 30 amp or a 20 amp or a 25 amp fuse. Try to get a spare one from the glove box. If you don't find the spare one in the glove box, try to take one out from something that's not important to starting the car, like the EWS fuse or something, or the OBD fuse or something. Just try to find something like for the windows or something that's between 20 and 30 amps. What we're going to do is that here's the part where I'm not going to be able to show you exactly what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it the best I can. You're going to reach up under here. You're going to drop this all the way down. Right, you're going to reach up here. You'll, like right up here, when you put your hand, you will feel that box, which is the EWS. For the EWS boxes, you'll feel the connector on it, and then you're going to unplug it, right? Unfortunately, on the E46s, the plug is not that long, not extendable, so we won't be able to get it all the way out here. But on like the 5 Series and the X5, it's actually pretty long. You can pull it out, so it's going to be easier. Anyways, once the plug is out, you'll see on it a lot of small holes for the pins to go in from the EWS, but you're gonna see two wide ones on one of the ends, right? So what we're gonna do right now is gonna take this fuse right here, we're gonna shove it into those two slots, okay? We wanna make sure that these two legs right here contact with the pins inside those slots. All right, so I'm gonna do it and then we'll show you a shot of how it looks like after. All right, now that the fuse is in, what we did is basically jump the wire that goes out from the ignition switch when you try to start your car, that 12 volt wire, to the wire that goes out from the EWS that gives the signal to the starter to go ahead and start. So the car's not gonna start, it's gonna crank. Either crank or no crank. So if it cranks, that means that your ignition switch and your starter are perfectly fine. If it doesn't crank, then one of these is bad. Of course, cheaper and easiest one to replace first to test it out is the ignition switch. They're pretty cheap. You can get them anywhere for anywhere from 10 to 30 bucks. Easy to replace. The right, you just drop this right here and it's going to be held on right here by a small screw. So that one you replace first. If you still have the no crank, then it's your starter, right? Now, if it does crank, then it is your EWS box, unfortunately. So let's go ahead and try to test it right now. Here's the key. Okay. No start. Cranks means that ignition switch and starter are good.
Right. So in my situation, if I had the key and I was trying to start it, like everything was hooked up normally, I was trying to start it and it just didn't crank at all, and we just did this test, that means my EWS is bad.
Yes.
If that's
Yeah,
what was
it
happening.
means the relay, the starter relay that's embedded inside the EWS went bad. Unfortunately, there's no easy way of replacing it. It's always better and easier to just replace the whole EWS.
And for that, you need to come to somebody like you to recode everything.
Yeah,
Got it.
Either needs to be cloned or just get a new EWS and code it to the car and program to the car.
Got it.
All right. So yeah,
Nice.
that's it. That's our test. I'm gonna go ahead and put everything back together.
Great, man. That's awesome. Very
All
cool.
right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Anytime.